Push that big red dot. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Yay.
Since we're on Yay, let's go to Yay first.
Let's go to yay. You know what? Let's do it because I think it's so interesting that okay, actually, let's not go to yay yet because on the way here, I was listening to Matt Walsh and I saw he was talking about, he goes, to Tate fans, to the fans of Andrew Tate. And I was like, all right, it's almost like a test. Like, your opinion on Ye and Andrew Tate is a test of your IQ and your research level. And doesn't mean you have to have the same view as me. That's not the test. The test is, are you fully informed on this topic that you're talking about? Or are you informed at all? You don't even have to be fully informed. Just be informed. Don't be like, oh, I read the headlines or I saw a couple blurbs and now I'm going to do this whole video. So I was like, okay, here's your test, Matt Walsh. And you know what? He passed the test. I don't agree with him. I don't think he was right. But basically his take was, Tate has a lot of good points about masculinity and this, that, and the other, and escaping the matrix and working hard and being, masculine. He's like, but he said, I disagree because I don't think that the be all and end all is having a bunch of women and a bunch of money and stuff like that. And that's where he's wrong. That's Tate's lifestyle, but Tate doesn't prescribe that lifestyle to other people. He says, listen, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I get bored hella easy. That's why I want different women and I want fast cars and I want to I used to be a professional fighter. You think like that's not a sane thing to do. That's an adrenaline junkie activity. And after you're done with that, you still want that level. And that's why he does what he does. But he always says, and then I heard another video the other day when some guy was saying, he was talking to Rolo, who I don't particularly like that much, but he's all right, but I don't love him. You know what I mean? I love Tate, love Ye. I don't love Rolo. But Rolo was saying something about, he was bringing up the question. He was like, okay, Tate, what do you say to the men who say that it's too dangerous to be with women? You should just walk away from them. Don't get married, right? And Tate was like, dude, if you want to be a happy man, you need a healthy relationship in your life. That's how it is. So that's what I want to say. So with all these people like Ye, right? Ye is getting super canceled because he said, I love Hitler. And anyone who's really paying attention will realize he's saying, I love all people, because that's the Christian thing. I love everybody. And you don't get to tell me who I get to love and don't love. And you don't get to control my speech. I can say what I want because I'm a fucking human being on the planet. And fuck your cancellation. So sorry for cussing, but I get passionate about it too. What are your thoughts?
No, you're right. I mean, people try to conflate so many things instead of being able to see the man's strengths and weaknesses. He's saying, hey, these are what's my lifestyle got to do with what I'm saying over here. Like, people need to start thinking that way. I can see somebody's strengths and weaknesses. I can say, I don't agree with that. I agree with that. I don't try to conflate and make the man into this, misogynist, nonsense like that. Like, people try to play with it all. Like, there's strengths and weaknesses in everybody. Mm-hmm. And you have to do the discernment to see what he's saying. That's correct what he's saying over there. I don't agree with that because Matt Walsh is a family man. He goes home to his wife. He's a simple guy like that, So that's I can see why he would disagree with that, but that's not all Tate is saying.
Yeah, and Tate never knocks marriage. Now, I've never heard him knock marriage or relationships. He just says that's not his lifestyle,
right? But
he doesn't ever say you shouldn't do that. I've listened to a lot of Tate. Definitely have not listened to it all, but he's always said to me, from what I've heard him say, is relationships are valuable. They're important. Do it right.
Right.
He doesn't say don't do it. He doesn't say you need multiple women. He doesn't say that. Yeah. He says I like multiple women.
And I set my life up to where it can actually happen for me. Most guys can't do that or don't want to put that effort in or don't even have the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. But I do, and I choose to do it.
And I like it.
And that's fine.
I don't want that life. I mean, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of headache.
It's a lot of,
he's dealing with the aftermath of that right now, actually.
Yeah. But then also too, like, when you're the man and you can change everybody's life, they're going to get on your program. Like, what you say goes or you're out, so like, it's not like I'm, I can see like how that's the only way to really control and having a lot of women is we're all jet set and we're all having fun. We're going here, we're going there. I ask a few simple things from you, you do them or you don't want to do them. Mm-hmm. And that's it. So he's not like forcing somebody to do. They're doing it on their own accord because they like what he's providing, their lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's really how you can have 3 or 4 or 5 women. You know, it's going to be hard to do with just personality being broke, but I think some guys maybe can do it because they got so much charisma. But
Yep.
Then
And
the
they just
mi-
understand women and know how to make them feel good. And that's their art. Maybe if you have 3 or 4 or 5 women and they're content-ish, even like halfway content with the relationship, you're an artist.
yeah, you're an artist. So
And you're spending most of your time on that, unless you're like a master of everything, because that's gonna take time.
and two, like I would say, study the reasons why he has, you know, that person gets it or that person gets it. He has no money, but he still has 5 girls. There's a reason for it. He has something of value to these women that are willing to do that. So, yeah.
But you know what? I think it's a sacrifice too. So I would rather I'm a creative person. So the reason why I don't even want that life is because I want to, and I tried it. I dated 2 women at once, and it was too much. All right, I had 2 women. That was too much. Too much time. Too much sexual energy output. Too much connection. You know what I mean? It's like I want to be making music. I want to be making films, podcasts. I want to be learning things. I want to be practicing on my art forms. And then I want to be building a relationship with one woman or dating, looking for that one woman to really like build with. But that's me. We're all doing our thing.
And two, like we're in this new world now. So it's almost like since marriages and kids are going down, you know, it seems, you know, harder to maybe get a committed relationship or marriage because marriage, you know, shout out to Rollo Tomasi because he breaks it down in the sense that, you know, men really lose because when the state gets involved with your marriage, then it's always leaning toward benefiting women.
Yeah.
And you can lose a lot. So
Yeah.
to get married without having kids or some purpose, you know, you can really lose. So,
But you can also win.
you could also win.
So,
It's
it's a choice.
It's always
Yeah.
a choice, but it's up to, you know, picking the right woman, investing, paying attention. But it is a risk in the sense you can lose. So men are kind of shying away from it. But I kind of see the world going to where, all right, well, everybody kind of wants to follow their own dreams, men and women. So that's not conducive to building anything because what you're pursuing is, you know,
Well, not everybody. Let's be specific.
yeah, not everybody, but it just seems like the world's going that way. But not everybody, of course. But that's not conducive to building a life and investing in each other. If you're investing in your dreams, it's hard to do both. Your passion and then this relationship. That's why
You
relationships.
mean like women or men, like a man and a woman, if they're both pursuing their dreams, it's going to be hard to build a relationship together.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's harder. Like old school is I'm going up the mountain and my woman's pushing me. She's supporting me.
Yeah, but it's so expensive these days to even own a home that it's going to be very difficult for most men to fully support their woman without the woman having to work too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So there's that always ever changing, circumstances.
I was listening to this one guy talking about like the world that we're living in now. Our biology hasn't caught up to what it is. We're still
Mm-hmm.
thinking old school, like how relationships work. But I think nature designed it already for it to work for men and women. They have to be on the same page with one leader. And if it's not that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot of conversations, a lot of, talking about, compromising. Okay, you're going to do this and then we'll meet. And then, it's just harder. It's just easier. If I'm going up the mountain and slaying dragons, my wife's behind me pushing.
That's beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And it seems to be frowned upon from certain women, being that person. No, I have my own dreams. I want to go my own way. Anyway, the point is, marriage looks like it's getting harder to want to do that. And so my vision is like, okay, so if that's not going to happen, basically it's almost like it's turning into a polyamorous. Like you're going to have 3 or 4 women, and women are going to have a couple men, to that. And then those are new types of relationships that are investments. It's not like old school investments. It's like, hey, I choose to be with you, hang out with you and invest in you a little bit. That's going to benefit my lifestyle that I'm living right now, my passions. So, I'm going to want you to come over here at given times. And that's as far as it's going to go because I'm following my dreams, right? So that can still be a good relationship, And so I'm envisioning from a man's point of view and a woman's point of view, we're going to have a rotation of 4 or 5 people.
That's what you want?
I don't want that, but I'm just saying I'm also looking, but in the meantime, to get laid and have some sex, I have to be dealing with those type of personalities. I do believe there's a woman out there, and I'm going to always be striving to get.
So you're talking about dating, right?
I want one relationship, but I also do want more sex. So how do you get that? Tell me what you think.
Okay. Oh, good. Because I wanted to bring this up. I think that there's a lot of ways, right? There's a lot of videos on it. But here I think is one damn near foolproof method of finding a woman to have a relationship with or to have sex with. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It is simple though. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Do not bust a nut for 100 days. Hold in your semen, men, for 100 days. Because what happens is you become more masculine. Your charisma goes up. Your desire and appreciation for women goes up. Your tolerance of women goes up. Your desirability to women goes up. You just got this extra juice in this day of free porn, where, let's be real, that's a genuine challenge for men to not abuse porn. It's not. I mean, it's we're built to love women, and now we get to have access to the most beautiful women you can imagine, naked, any time of day, in any way, any situation, whatever you want. It's there all the time, waiting for free. Okay, so we know that, so we can just drain our mojo. And most of us do. And we'll go through eras and times when we do that. So if you can, they say even after 1 week, after 7 days of not releasing your semen, your testosterone doubles. And then from there, it doesn't just double, but it doubles in 7 days. And so I'm always doing this. I'm going to try. I struggle. I'm not saying it's easy. I've never actually made it 100 days. I've done 70 days. Every time I do that, I get a new girlfriend though. That's for damn sure. That's a fact. And you just notice, also when you're in a relationship, you can keep this relationship if you're not busting nuts. So not even just from porn. I recommend don't just release every chance you get when you're with your woman, because what happens even immediately whenever you release and you're with the woman is you get tired and you get a little less desire for them, right? Now the most interesting thing is going to sleep. Right? I mean, let's be real. This is facts of life. We're being honest in here. But if you didn't, guess what? You still have desire for her. And listen, masculinity and feminine energy, they're different. And the foibles of feminine energy get on the nerves of masculine energy, and the opposite. A masculine gets a little obnoxious to feminine, but that's natural. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the interplay. You know what I mean? And so when you haven't released, you're more tolerant of the feminine plight and idiosyncrasies. You know what I mean? We'll tolerate it. So when you're in a relationship and you haven't busted, you want your woman, your desire for her is strong. You just every time. But if you're busted, especially if you're watching porn, if you're in a relationship and you're watching porn, trouble. Your desire for your woman is going to go down.
What do you think the source of that is? Just more energy, right?
More energy, but what is semen? Semen is life. Semen is the root of life, of physical human life. And it's hundreds of millions of beings can be created from one load. How many minerals, how many hormones, how many magical ingredients are in there? The very source of life. Keep it. It's definitely good. Has to be, changed. It has to be as soon as you release it, your body's working on building it up again. So that's 100% way to do it.
And then combined with eating too much and drinking, so you're taxing your liver and making your digestion and you're busting nuts.
Yeah.
So basically, you're right, because the segments of time when I was the cleanest, doing the least, I had more tolerance for all life's irritations.
Yes.
I did. I had more tolerance. I have to admit, I could handle it better.
Mm-hmm.
Before it's fuck it. When you're on low battery, it's easy to walk away and give up on everything.
And women sense it, right? They when you walk into a room and you're on low battery, they know it. And when you're you're cheesed up and you don't even know, you might not even feel it because it plateaus. You're just normal. To you, it's normal, but you're actually high energy because your baseline has risen up because you haven't been busting and you've been eating good. women just you radiate masculinity, like a woman who radiates femininity.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have to be like the most perfect face, but they're just in their body and they're just radiating this beauty and joy. And
maybe your pheromones go up too, more potent.
They do.
So
They
that
do.
pheromone gets more potent.
Yeah. And okay, so here's another thing too. You know how like certain cultures do not need any coaching on how to meet women, like Italians. There's no dating coaches in Italy for Italians. You know, it's not a thing. There's
The
no like
language of love.
yeah, and in Mexico, you don't. There's nobody like. How do I meet a woman? This doesn't happen in Mexico. Why? Because these cultures are more masculine. They're already like it's already part of the culture, so they don't need to ask that. But here in America, we need like coaching and stuff like that. I forgot where I was going with that actually.
Yeah, it makes sense because all the first, like I always say, the first world countries are the big experimentation because we have so many ways to deplete our energy, and so we're going to be the first ones to, you know, as the future learns from all this freedom.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Ain't nothing free. Not even freedom.
Not even freedom. So like, yeah, we can bust nuts, eat, and 6-7 times a day, drink, you know, and then we're wondering why it seems like we're not getting anywhere. You know, we're just sluggish and on low battery. Yeah, that makes sense, and everybody feels it. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. So when you're all sluggish like that, you don't know how to your instincts on how to talk to a woman and how to attract a woman go away. But when you're high in energy, and you have a lot of testosterone in you, it's natural. You don't have to think about it's in you. It's like it's innate. It's just like an intelligence that you have. You don't have to ask anybody, how do I approach women? You don't have to do that when you have a bunch of masculine energy. And,
Also,
and
when you're
testosterone.
sluggish, then you have to ask all kinds of questions.
Yeah, because it's not there. You're like, I don't know how to do this because it's not coming at you. But when you're like, boom, I haven't busted in a long time. I'm seeing a woman. I'm mesmerized by her beauty. I'm just gonna go up there and tell her. Talk to her.
So what you're basically saying is, being in the Western cultures, the first world countries, every generation that's new is getting so much more that they have to now be retaught the basics again.
Yeah, because like you said, because we're so free, we can overeat, we can overindulge, we can just watch porn all day. We don't have to, but a lot of these lower countries, they have to go work in the field. They don't got time to be masturbating all day. They got to be working in the field. They got to go, you know. Then they already have like dance and they have different parts of their culture, and it's also just a more masculine culture. So all that combines to they don't need a dating coach. But here in America, listen, me too. I watch a lot of videos online about how to approach women, because first of all, it is an art form, but I'm an American. And, you know, we're lost. So we have to teach ourselves. We lost a lot of culture and guidance. Plus, you know.
You're right, too. Back in the day, shout out to Rolo again, because he was saying this is the first era, I mean, this last 200 years, 200, well, let's say 100 years, where back in the day, you were out in the country or this or that, to see a pretty woman that you actually liked was rare occurrence. Well, now we can see 100 beautiful women a day on porn, and our bodies haven't caught up with, you know. And so like, you're right. I never thought about having to relearn the basics. Like, you don't have to teach a squirrel how to be a squirrel. They know how to be a squirrel.
Until you put it in a house and make it a pet.
And then you make it a pet. They don't know how to be a squirrel anymore.
And now it has cancer and fucking diabetes.
Right. So yeah, I never thought of it in that way. That's a good way to look at it. And then it always boils down to just low energy.
Yeah.
Our bodies, our organs are working too hard, and we're just walking around with 10% of energy trying to make sense of it all.
Yeah. And you want a woman you want to have good chemistry with your woman, and you want to have that insatiable desire for her. And if you got a lot of cheese and you're with the right woman, she's going to feel that and be very attracted to you. And you'll be attracted to her because you got all that extra chi and testosterone.
Wow. That could be like the main original root cause of it all.
I think it's a big one.
It's a big root cause. That makes sense. Low energy. When you're born in a first world country, you start out depleted in energy. That's why sometimes, like, I would meet guys when I used to play basketball a lot, and guys would be young. I was in my mid-30s, and I'd meet young guys who had already destroyed their kidneys or this or that, or even my friend out in Taiwan, You know, he had to get his appendix removed. But I remember as a kid, I would see what what he had in his refrigerator. Like we were actually eating pretty good at that time because our moms were giving us brown rice and beans and
Whole
avocados
foods.
and you know, this and that. We're eating eggs every day. That's our protein. And so when I remember going to his house, he's eating Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms and just nonsense. So obviously, by the time you hit 40, you already had so much damage.
Yeah.
You know, so you're like starting to peter out now.
Yep.
And lose kidneys and this and
they
that.
never fasted. They
never
never cleansed.
fasted, never cleansed. So, yeah. So the earlier you start in the depletion, instead of like life, we'll say you began. You what's a good way to say it? You get in a first world country, you're born into the immediate depletion. You know, almost. You know, I mean, if you're, you know, especially if the mom and pops aren't in the home, then you're already eating nonsense. So you only have your mother raising you, and on it goes. It's going to be hard to kind of get a sense of how the world was supposed to work for men and women.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
We don't even know anymore. Now we have no energy to look.
We're lost.
We're lost.
We're little fat squirrels in the house looking at the squirrels outside, being like, how do they run that tree? How do you climb a tree like that?
I'm exhausted just watching it. You see a little fat squirrel. You see a little fat squirrel
sipping on a Coke.
How do they do that? They're jumping. They actually jump from limb to limb.
Wow. You ever seen the squirrels like running around the tree crazily and then they're like fighting and then they fall out of the tree?
Oh yeah.
That shit is crazy.
It's funny. It's funny you bring up squirrels too, because I was watching a couple of videos recently of a couple people who found squirrels that fell out of the tree, a baby squirrel. They didn't know what it was yet because you can't tell what it is until it actually starts developing.
Oh.
But then a squirrel grows up, being around the human, it's like they're doing on the human being what they do on the trees. Like the squirrels are just, you know, clinging to you, jumping on you. It's amazing, you know. So like it's amazing that any animal could be domesticated. Oh wow, this kind of chives in what we're talking about. Because once they get domesticated, then it's hard. Like there's guys who have pumas and, you know, bobcats and, you know, and so they're different. They can't go back out there. It's hard. They can get killed because they're too domesticated.
Yeah.
So in the first world countries, we're domesticated and depleted.
Yep.
And easily manipulated. That's what's happening.
Imagine if a domesticated animal could watch porn. They would deplete themselves to death, right? They would just boom, 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 then they'd die.
Or the worst one too. Like if you just had endless food for them to eat, they'd probably go into a coma. Like dogs and, you know.
Well, I think some animals do that and some animals don't. Because you can leave out food and they don't eat it. But I think that's true with some, but not all animals.
Maybe it depends on the tastiness of the food. Like if you left a bunch of steaks out for a dog, would they eat into a coma?
I don't think so.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think I remember reading about that. Some do, some don't. But yeah, I think that's a good episode. What you think? Anything else you want to talk about?
No, that's a good one because we're going to be going back to that one. The root cause is always where we want to get to see why things are happening.
Yes,
there is a root cause, and it boils down to first world countries. That's why we see obesity. We see all these maladies happening from the freedoms, you know. Mm-hmm. And so, like the Tao says, how do I know it's like this? By looking at the manifestations. Mm. What's manifesting is showing us what's happening, right? So, yeah, I just want to understand this because, you know, I want to live a powerful life. And I really, you know.
So do you vow to go 100 days?
Yeah. I mean, step by step, but it's like, man, once you realize,
it's a good experiment. I would bet you if you go 100 days, I would bet you $500. If you go 100 days and you don't have like a very like, maybe you don't have like a full blown girlfriend, but you have a woman in your life and there's real potential and you guys are working on it, I would be flabbergasted.
No doubt. No, you're right. Yeah.
Because you'll just radiate it. It'll come. It comes into your orbit, and they'll make themselves available, and you'll be alert, and because things won't pass you by because you got that.
It is the most subtle thing. Like, you know, even like sometimes it'll just be natural. Like a week and a half, it's just nothing will happen. You know, and I'll be like, man, I do feel sharper. I can't even pinpoint where it's coming from. Yeah. It's just this weird focus. That you have. Yeah. Tolerance. You're right. It's like a tolerance. Like, oh, I can tolerate irritations better. Why? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's part of the plan, I guess, you know, because from this point on, I just really want to be improving on my health, You know, I just know how it feels, and it's there's nothing else but just depletion and being lost and sluggish and just getting older.
If you ain't getting better, you're
You're getting
getting
older.
worse and older,
And people do change, but for the worst over time.
usually. But people can change, and our audience is a changing audience. Like they change. These are the people who change. That's why they listen to us.
And that's another good topic. Maybe we'll hit that one next time. Why don't people change?
Ooh, okay.
What's the resistance to change? Like changing, you know you need to change. You know your health is bad. You know how your thinking isn't working for you. And why don't you change?
Because it's
Hard?
uncomfortable. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. It's embarrassing.
Ooh.
It's difficult.
Ooh.
It's and it's so easy to resort back to
Ooh.
what was before because the grooves are laid. So you're out in the cold, naked and alone and afraid and ugly.
Ooh.
That's how change feels.
Yeah.
At first, temporarily.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. 'Cause I noticed that too. Like when I stop drinking, my skin starts to look bad for a while.
Oh.
Yeah. And I remember like, man, I don't remember if you remember that when I don't want to be saying names, but
Yeah. You can use a code name.
when when we were living out in Broward and and then Veronica kind of would come. Oh, I said it. V would come and, come to the house when she was still back in LA. And I remember she came and I wasn't drinking at that time because I was waking up at 5 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I was noticing too, like the splotches on my, face looked kind of weird and all that stuff. And she's like, "What's going on?" Because it was kind of like dusk and you can see it really
Yeah.
vividly,
Uh-huh.
right? She's like, "What's going on with your face?" It was like all splotchy, but I realized you got to get ugly to get pretty
That's
again.
the detox.
That's the detox, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and then I noticed as time went on, my skin started looking better, but
Yeah.
it has to look ugly for a while,
Yeah, that's like when you clean your house. In the middle of cleaning, your house is messier than it was in the beginning.
right?
But when you're done, it's cleaner.
Yeah. So I was like, "Girl, why you saying I'm splotchy, nigga?
You call me splotchy, girl.
Why am I splotchy?" But yeah, so that's the price we pay. So
All right, I'm stretched. This is splotchy.
I'm splotchy, and I say, rule number 1 in this life: try not to go too deep in the hole because you got to climb out hand over hand. The
Oh, yeah.
deeper you go,
Yes, you ain't going all the way to the other side. That's death.
and that's probably why most people don't change because they're so deep in the hole they can't even see the light.
Ooh, they forget the light.
And then the
Up
light
there.
goes away. The minute you can't see that light up there anymore, and you're at the bottom of the well. Then you're just like, "Why change? I can't even see where I'm going."
Ooh, yeah.
So
All right, then, crowd, audience, we love you. Stretch it out, but do it at a metered tempo.
and don't fall down the hole too deep because you got to come back out, or you're not going to come back out. So
yeah, but
I'll
we
leave
want
it.
you. We want you to come back out.
The minute you can't see the light, you better start asking yourself some questions.
You better stop busting nuts.
Ooh,
And then you'll see the light again.
ooh, because your nut is the light.
Ooh,
So you're discharging the light in your body.
yes. Don't discharge it all.
If you see semen under a microscope, it is light.
It is light. It is God.
It is a fluorescent light.